Great to be visiting with Rick Tocchet, the head coach of the Arizona Coyotes. You've got a fascinating hockey story to tell. 1984 is when you started in this league. You've never been out of the league since. How you managed to persevere for all these years?
Yeah, great league. Love it. Love the being part of any kind of team building, whether it's as a player, coach, or any capacity. I just love competition. And what other job do you want where NHL hockey to be part of that competition?
Speaking of competition, your first year, 1984, Mike Keenan is your coach in Philadelphia. Talk about Mike and how he's influenced you and about the team in particular in Philadelphia, because it was the old Philadelphia Flyer brand, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Instant family when you got there. Ed Snyder, it was a family atmosphere. I know as a young kid, you felt at home. You know, the transition, obviously as a young kid, it's hard to stay in the NHL, but they really made it comfortable for you off the ice. On the ice, Mike Keenan, he wanted an aggressive team, very young team, no excuses. He drove us hard. I think he was ahead of his time, Pierre, because he was one of the guys that started the 45, 50-minute high-tempo practices. All the players had their own water bottles. I mean, everybody usually don't have 3 or 4 water bottles. Now everybody had their water bottle with their name on it. Nutrition, he used to have a lot of team dinners. So he was ahead of his time in '84 for sure.
There's a story, I don't know if it's urban legend or true, but you're a Toronto boy, you go back with the Flyers one of your first times. Did he make you change away from the regular dressing room?
Well, I don't know if, what do you do is he puts 2 or 3 of us in a different dressing room just to motivate us. The one story, he called me in the office, he had my jersey in Hershey colors, the Hershey Bears with the minor league team. He goes, if you don't have a good game tonight, your number and name is already over there. And I ended up getting a couple of fights that night and did my thing, and I never got sent down. But yeah, those are just his motivational things, and it helped me down the road. I got to really give him a lot of credit for my career.
You talk about fighting. Yeah. You were really good at it, but you could score goals too. When did you know as a kid, I'm going to have to do this in order to survive in the league?
Yeah, probably my third year junior, a little bit, was a pretty aggressive guy. And then obviously when you get to the Flyers, it was not so much a badge of honor, just the way, I started to be more aggressive on the ice, and I'd get in fights. And then, the organization didn't tell you to shy away from it because it gave me more room. Obviously, the building, the spectrum, it gets you amped up. So a lot of those fights are just because of the moment, the intimidation, that building. Nobody ever told me to fight. It was just, it just gave me room, and then you start scoring goals because of it.
You had a lot of guys around you. Daryl Stanley was there, Dave Brown was there, but one of your good buddies, Craig Berube, was there. Can you talk about when you saw Craig hoist a cup last year in St. Louis, what you were thinking?
It felt unreal for him. I had beers with them after we beat them 7-1. I think it was at the end of December, January. They were in last place. And I remember that. I was sitting with their coach staff, man Ryan, too, he's a buddy of mine. We sat. He wasn't really panicking. All his coaches 7-1, your last place. You're like, oh my God, what's going on here? He just said, I got to get these guys to believe in their roles. I remember he said that to me. And then next time I see it, throughout the year, obviously, and then he's hoisting that cup, like you said. He's a really good coach. He persevered. One of my favorite teammates of all time, like a real team guy, and that's the way St. Louis played.
You talk about teammates. You had 2, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, considered probably the 2 best players in the history of the game, along with Bob Orm, John Beliveau, and other guys, but obviously right at the top. Talk about your relationship with Mario first.
Pierre, if you look at both, you just said great, generational, unreal players, but they're better human beings. Just great guy. Mario Lemieux, probably the nicest guy I ever met. Doesn't like the big entourage. He has a few close friends. He likes to golf. He's just an even-tempered, very generous guy. Wayne Gretzky, very generous guy. Looks after people. Never, the stuff that they do behind the scenes. Like I'm not going to tell you all the stuff that goes unnoticed is unbelievable. So to me, just to be lucky to call them my friends, I'm a very blessed guy because those guys are great human beings.
Who's a better golfer, Lemieux or Gretzky?
Lemieux. Lemieux, I think, he might be a 2 or 3 now. He's kind of lost a little bit on his side, but Wayne's pretty good too. It's pretty good to have like his partial son-in-law to be Dustin Johnson. So, but yeah, he's actually improved a lot.
You coached with Wayne. What was he like as a coach?
You know what? Very underrated bench coach. He was really good. He kind of reminded me a little bit of Scotty Bowman. I think Scotty Bowman's the best bench coach I ever played for and seen. when Wayne did it, his bench skills behind the bench were really good. I felt a lot of players would give him. Wayne didn't want players to get intimidated, but it's Wayne Gretzky, so he tried to humanize himself, like he'd like to joke around with the players. But he had a lot of fun. He probably did his best job his first year. We didn't really have a great team. I think we were 500. I thought we did a nice job there. Wayne was a big influence on me on coaching.
When you were traded from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh, that's one of the most intense rivalries in all of sport. Forget hockey, all of sport, Pittsburgh versus Philly. How did you adjust to becoming a Penguin after all those years of animosity?
It was easy. I got picked. Actually, you picked me up at the airport. I got picked up at the airport. I remember talking to you, and I looked at the lineup, and I'm like, you're looking at Hall of Famers. You're looking at a star-studded lineup. I get a chance to play with Mario Lemieux, Kevin Stevens. No offense to Flyers, because I bled orange and black, don't get me wrong, but once I hit that dressing room and knew that these guys were my new teammates and I would do anything for them, because I knew that was my chance to win the Stanley Cup when I looked around that locker room and saw the talent of players we had in that team.
How did you persevere after you broke your jaw and come back in the '92 Stanley Cup run?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, I had a talk with Craig Patrick, and he said, we can wire it shut and do all these things, but you're going to be out for a little bit. And I just looked at him. I said, Craig, this is my chance. Look at this lineup. Look at the team you have here. I just said, hey, listen, let's put that mask on or whatever and go for it. So, obviously, a great choice for me because I get to win a Stanley Cup.
You've won the Stanley Cup as a player. You've won it twice as a coach, an assistant coach to Mike Sullivan in Pittsburgh. How hard was it for you to leave Pittsburgh after the second cup? Really
hard. It wasn't as clear cut. Arizona obviously made it worth my while. Had numerous talks with Mario. Jim Rutherford was great. Mike Sullivan. Probably those coaching years probably learned more than I ever learned being under Sully, that organization, which I love. So it was really tough. It was tough, but I don't know if I would have another chance again, kick at the can, to get to go to a team that was trying to find its own culture of some young players. So I took the job, and it's been fun so far.
How have you implemented the Rick Tocchet style of play in Arizona?
Sometimes you got to look at your lineup and go from there. And I think we definitely, when I first got it, I wanted to create identity. I didn't know what our identity was. It took us about a year and a half to where we are. Mm-hmm. We really defended the puck really well, and we have good goaltending. Our D were good. We had some young forwards who wanted to learn how to win. So we've created that style, and it's hard to keep your identity because it's hard to win, Pierre. You know that. It's really hard to win, to do the right things, to defend, to transition the puck quick, to have a middle drive. Like, those are hard things to do, and that's why these great teams do it consistently. So that's something that we're working on here in Arizona.
One of your first pet projects when you were coaching down in Tampa was Steven Stamkos. A lot of people didn't think he could play in the league at that time. You came up with a unique plan to get him a comfortable situation in Tampa. Can you tell us what that was?
Yeah, I just looked at the schedule, and regardless how he was playing or what was going on in the hockey life there, I was going to pick games he'd played. Whether he played 2 or 3 out of 5 or whatever. We got him in the gym. He's an 18-year-old kid, skinny kid, and worked in the gym. And then it seemed like when he played, he had more strength. He was scoring goals, and then obviously the next year, I think he ended up scoring 50 goals. He was unreal. So my point to me was the development of a young kid. You can't be afraid to sit him out for the right reasons. You can't worry about the name. You can't worry about how high he was drafted. I think you got to worry about his development.
Speaking of that, the relationship with Rick Tocchet and Phil Kessel, you couldn't be more different people. Why does it work?
Well, Phil's he's an interesting guy. He does a lot of stuff with Rink that people don't understand. He's a very generous guy. He does stuff that people don't know. Phil sees the game sometimes differently, and that's fine. We might argue or disagree on something, but at the end of the day, he respects who I am. I respect who he is. I think that's why the relationship has worked out, is because I understand him. There's going to be some differences, absolutely, but I think the respect factor is there.
When you're in Arizona now, do you sense that your image and your brand as an organization starting to catch on with the fans?
Yeah, I think obviously John Chaika, working with John with the new ownership, I think they see the vision. So there's not a lot of changeover. There's not a lot of panic. There's not a lot of people coming and going. I think now it's a little more stable, and I think to win you have to have stability, right? We have a vision what we're trying to do here. Whether we win 5 in a row or lose 5 in a row, I think we're staying with a vision.
Who's a better card player, you or Mark Recchi?
Card player? Definitely me. Rex is not even my category.
You
I love Rex. Rex is not. Rex is pretty good, but he's not good.
You or Mario Lemieux?
Better than Mario. There's not too many. Phil Kessel might be better than me. He's pretty good, but he's just got more, stones, I guess.
When you first came to Pittsburgh, could you believe the card games that were going on the plane?
Crazy games. That's why I think it lasted a year. I think then we settled down because it started getting crazy. I think Jimmy McKenzie won a car one year, Big Mac. But yeah, those days are over. They were fun though. We used to have a lot of fun. That team had a lot of fun, and it transpired on the ice.
What was your best memory when you hoisted the cup over your head?
You know what? For me, it was just all the years of, as a young kid watching Hockey Night in Canada, making the NHL, getting traded, being able to withstand some injuries or whatever it was, and just be able to be with a group of guys and accomplish something. As much as you're happy for yourself, my parents, my family who were there, that was awesome. Just to see certain guys lift the cup. We had some guys that, I remember some guys like, Gillen and Mikhailuk, Needham. These guys didn't play a lot, but we needed them at certain stretches of the game. I remember those guys. Even as a coach, I remember the guys that maybe don't play all the time, but it's sometime in that playoff where you needed a guy. I love seeing those guys hoist the cup.
Have a great time this season. Thanks for doing this, Rick. Really appreciate it.
Good seeing you, buddy.